Good morning. Two hands to review. So, hand number one, ace nine of diamonds. Under the gun. I believe this may be a short table. So, I started with 50 big blinds. Open raise to 3, and I get one caller. This player, I have 43 hands. He's playing 19-0. Seems to be loose and passive. Have not seen him raise pre-flop in 43 times. Have not seen him raise first in 13. He has not 3-bet at all. Pre-flop, he is calling 19%. And really, it's one time from MP, and then he's calling from the blind. So I think he's loose from the blinds, but pretty tight when he's not. Maybe he has all pockets, and then he's probably something like this. Maybe like that. That's 14.3%. Maybe not all of these offsuits. So maybe the suiteds, 12.5. Might not even have these suited connectors. It's just he's playing super tight over these 43 hands. So I'm just going to do something super tight. I've got ace nine of diamonds. You're going to see that that's kind of in the middle of his range. Our plan here is to not to let our kicker really get us in trouble. So the flop comes out ace jack and 3 with 2 hearts. Again, with 43 hands, the only stat I have is that he folds out of position 2 out of 3 times. So he probably folds when he misses most boards. So this board, I think, is going, well, it hits me, and I also think it hits his range. I think if I bet, he's probably going to call with his aces, and he probably calls with his jacks. And I think those are the hands that we're going for. Would he 3-bet aces and kings? I have to assume he will. So I think you can probably get aces and kings out. Would he 3-bet with ace king? Maybe. In 43 hands, he might not have had ace king yet. So let's take those hands out, and also the queens. So that alters what he has. So I think he's got the jacks, he's got the aces that he hits, and if he has an ace, we've got some kicker problems. So if I bet, I think we're going to be getting these middle pairs to call the top pair, 2-pair sets, probably flush draw, and that might be it. I'm not sure if this is a player that's going to call with a gut shot at all. So 35% of the time he calls, we're going to be at 28.9%. What's the chance of us checking and getting a call later on in the hand? Well, it gives him all of his weak pairs in the no-made hand. So, based on this type player, I think if we're going to get some value, I think we're only going to get one street of value, because I think it's going to be likely that he has that top pair or better. So I think a check here is probably going to be okay. Check out of position. And that's pretty good. I checked, and then he bets. So with this player, do I think he's going to bet a weak pair? No, probably not. I think he's still going to be doing maybe middle pair plus or top pair. I think folding is going to be too tight, even though we're only 28.9% equity. But pot's giving us 25. I think it's okay to call and see if we hit a 9, and then also check him and see what happens. So I think the call is okay. Turns to 2 hearts. I think that might actually help our range a little bit more than his. I don't think if I bet I'm going to get folds, but perhaps a check raise here might generate a fold. I think it may give a player, this passive player like this, a reason to fold their ace queen, ace 10, maybe even their trips, although I don't know, it's hard to get that. So I think we check here and just see what he does, and he checks behind, and I think that's okay. If we're ahead, we get the one street of value. I'm not sure if, I would assume flushes are going to bet. But with a player like this, I'm going to guess sets, two pair, top pair are going to check. Middle pair is going to check. Our draws are going to check. Right? Basically, all these other hands are going to check. So let's say 83% he checks. We're still only at 23%. So we're not doing good. And then the 10 of diamonds. Now, if we're going to make a play, this is the time to make the play, recognizing that we are behind. So if I bet, I would have to bet the pot size bet. And what we're hoping to do is get top pair to folds. So ace, queen to fold, and possibly even two pair. So I'm going to assume all of the sets call. So that's 20.7%. I'm going to change these. 20.7%. I'm betting pot. And I need him to fold, 33% of the time. So we're betting 14.6 over the risk plus reward. So 50% of the time I have to be at, 50% is my, I need to be good 50% of the time, basically, to make this a profitable play. I think break-even percentages, his break-even percentage, I think, is to make sure that he calls, I think, 33%. I'll have to double-check those numbers, but 50% of the time, I think if he only calls with a set, we get that. If he calls with sets and two pairs, we're not getting that. He's continuing with 51.7 unless he looks at these two pair hands and he says he's not calling with all of them. So let's say, oh, that's a full house. Oh yeah. Let's take out the cumulative. So okay, take off the cumulative. Why is trips there? Ace 2 3 10. So he would have ace jack, ace 10, jack 10. If he folds those jack 10s, then he's only continuing 48%. So we're continuing, so he would fold 52%. That could be profitable. Would a type player like this fold that? I mean, we've got the heart, we've got a possible straight draw. He might. I think it's willing to take the chance and see what he does, and then write a note with him. Right now, the called blinds, 2-bet from blinds, it's pretty tight. So I think it's a high variance play to try to bluff this, but I mean, king, queen hits, the hearts are hit. So many of those draws hit that I think if we bet strongly, bet pot size, we may generate the folds that we need to make that bet to be profitable. So I check and he checks behind, and when he checks, I do think he has everything in his range, and we're only at 17% chance to be ahead, and he shows fives, which is actually pretty interesting. So we won that hand. He had fives initially, 10 of diamonds. So where we went wrong was this. Right here. So I assumed when we checked he was not going to bet. So now if he bets all of his weak pairs, now he checks behind. We have all of those hands in his range. Now with the check. And then with the 10, I don't think it is as strong anymore. And now if we check, I think he's going to check basically everything. We're 55%, that's okay. If we bet here, I still think he's probably only going to call 2-pair plus. So he's only calling 30.9%, which means we'd show profit. But what we're hoping for is to get, some of these weaker hands to call, and he probably just doesn't. So player like this, instead of trying to go for the bluff, thinking he was strong, I think he's weak. I think we just check and plan to check call if he happens to bet. So, all right, we didn't have fives in his hand. We didn't think he would bet those. So let's close this out and get hand number 2. All right, hand number 2 is ace 2. This is a 5 NL game. So I open raise and get 1 caller from the button. Only 7 hands. He's playing 57%. So I think he's going to be pretty wide. I'm gonna set up kind of more of a standard type of button calling range. Because I'm not quite sure how wide he is. That's 26.8%. That's probably too tight. And if I drop that out, it's 21%. That's probably too tight, but that's probably more standard to what we might encounter. And the king nines and queen nines are going to be questionable. Especially, I think this range is tighter, especially because this is under the gun. And, in those 7 hands that I've played, I'm playing 43-29. So ace 2, we see a flop of ace diamonds, 7 clubs, and 3 spades. So ace 7-3 rainbow. We've got our question is, should we c-bet here? I do think we should be c-betting. I've got a bad kicker. We're hoping if I c-bet that we're going to get probably the ace 5, ace 6, ace 8, ace 9 to fold. Even if they call, which I think several people will be calling, I think we can fire a second barrel and get those hands to fold. And those are the hands that we want. If I check here and he checks behind, or if he bets and I call, I think he's more likely to then call a river bet with ace and weaker kickers, or ace and mid kickers. So I think the overall strategy here with this weaker 2 is, I think to generate a fold later, to fold out better hands, I think we're going to have to c-bet flop and probably bet turn. I don't have, I do have backdoor straight potential, so 4-5, but if a 4-5 gets there, any 6 is going to be a straight. So let's see what I'm going to do. And at this point, I'm not even really concerned what hands he's going to call, because I do think he's going to call with his top pair hands. So our goal is, can we generate a fold on that turn? I checked, and then he checks behind, so we're going to continue with 100% of his range here. And with that 100%, I'm 78% favorite. 4 of diamonds comes out, and now I think with that 4 of diamonds, I don't think I'm getting a fold from ace 5, ace 6, ace 8, ace 9, ace 10, ace jack, and definitely not ace queen. So really the folds that I'm looking to get are these middle cards. And once I checked, I don't think I think he's gonna call. Even if I bet flop and then bet the river, I think it's more likely that he calls on that river, because I showed some weakness on the flop by not c-betting, especially since we're heads up. I think a c-bet, checking that c-bet would be fine with, let's say, ace king, ace queen. We're not really vulnerable. We can give a free card, and giving that free card may encourage ace 10, ace 9, ace 8 to call a turn bet and possibly even a river bet. So I check, which I think is fine. I don't think I'm gonna get any hands that I beat to really call. I think if I bet all of these, no made hands, all of these hands are probably just gonna call. The flush draw is gonna call. Open-ended straight draw is gonna call. I think these weak pairs are probably just gonna fold. Middle pairs are probably just gonna fold. Pocket pair below top pair is probably just going to fold. It's going to seem suspicious. It's going to seem like I have an ace here. So if he calls top pair plus and flush draw open-ended straight draws, I'm at 38%. I think that's pretty bad. Yeah, I'm going to pick up the pot a lot of the times, but these are the hands that call me, are hands that beat me. I would much prefer to get some value from the hand. So maybe if he calls with the pocket pair below top pair, now this could be a good value bet because I win, I win 57% of the time when he folds, and when he calls, I still win 52% of the time. So I'll say I like my check here, just because I checked the flop, even though I don't like checking I don't think we should have checked the flop. So he checks behind, and then 7. And at this point now we have to ask, if I bet, what hands are going to call? And it comes down to the player type. Is he going to bluff catch? If he bluff catches with weak pair pluses, he's calling 44.9%. We are getting 47% equity. So let's run this. I run. Let's do a pot size bet. So if I bet 7.4, all right, he's going to. Would he call with all weak pairs? Maybe. I think so. I think a lot of players do. And at the 5NL, yeah, they probably do. So, okay, I'm going to win 7.4. That's what's in the pot. And we'll say 55%. 55% of the time we win because they fold. Okay, and then we have to cover the times that they call. So 45% of the time they will call. Okay, and of the times that they call, I will win 47% of the time, and I will win 2 times 7.4. So the pot plus his call, and my equity is 47%. But I will lose my initial pot size bet, the other 53%. So my equity here is 5.4 if I bet the pot. So it looks like if I bet the pot, I show some profit. And that means that, betting half amount, half pot, if he calls with all of this, the same, it's going to be lower. It's still going to be plus EV. Let's change this up. Let's say if I bet pot, we're going to dump the weak pairs, but he'll still be pocket pair below top pair. So all of these, 8s, 9s, 10s, and jacks, and all of those aces. So we change what he calls here. All right, so I'm going to win 0.74, 7.4. So he's going to continue 60 or 35% of the time, which means he's going to fold. We'll just round it. We'll say 65% of the time is what he folds. All right, and that means the other 35% of the time that he calls, all right, I'm going to win 2 times the pot times my equity, which is 0.33, and the other times I will lose my bet, and that is 66%. I'm going to have to do 67 just so my percentages equal 1. And now you can see that, if he tightens up, I still am positive. I still have plus EV. What if it's only top pair plus? What if it's only the aces? Let's try that. So now he's only continuing with 74.9. So we are going to say, that's 25%. So I'm going to win 7.4. I'll win the pot 75% of the time. The other 25% of the time when he calls, 2 times 7.4 times my equity, which is a whopping 0.0. It's 4%. We're going to say 0.45. And we're going to lose our bet. That's 95.5% of the time. So we're still positive. So this might be a good positive EV spot, and I'm going to guess a lot of these he doesn't have. Straights, full houses, quads, probably would have bet. Three of a kind he could definitely possibly have. So I think it is. I should bet here just because he may be calling with worse. And when he calls with worse, we still have some sort of equity. So half pot to a pot size bet, I think we can get value. What do? I do. I bet half pot and he calls. Okay, that's cool. And he shows. He doesn't show. The time where they don't show it. So he obviously doesn't have an ace. So he could have one of these weaker pairs, pocket pair below top pair. He doesn't have an ace. So if I won that hand, I think he probably also calls the pot size bet. So we would have had. I lost out on some EV here. Hard to see if I actually got this range right, but I think it was good practice. Kind of thinking about the ranges that we would call once it went check check. I think now we could bet for value on the river, and we should have probably bet pot, even if he's going to start folding some of his absolute weakest hands. All right, look tomorrow for a couple more hands.